श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं। यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः। भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः। स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेमदेवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः। स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः। स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः। स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। Let us read the verses that we completed today morning together. Verse number 5 and 6, right? तावदेव निरोद्धव्यं यावद् हृदि गतं क्षयम्। एतज्ज्ञानं च ध्यानं च शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः। नैव चिन्त्यं न चाचिन्त्यं न चिन्त्यं चिन्त्यमेव च। पक्षपातविनिर्मुक्तं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा। Really speaking, the entire Upanishad, the entire message of the Upanishad has been completely given. All that the Rishi wants to say with respect to the goal and the path has been given. And therefore, it is now time for us to remind ourselves as to what is the path given by the Rishi from the beginning to now. Okay? From the beginning to now, what is the road that the Rishi has laid in front of us for the realization of the self? Okay? Now see if whatever I tell you now makes full sense to you. If it makes full sense to you, it means you have understood the essence of the teaching so far. If it doesn't make full sense to you, it means that you have to think about those things. Okay? Shall I say? Ready? There is a basic ignorance in the mind, because of which it is called manaha. And what is that basic ignorance? Taking the body to be the self and taking the world of objects to be real. Okay? The flow of the mind is impure because of sankalpa resulting in kama, resulting in krodha, resulting in lobha, resulting in moha, resulting in mada, resulting in Mascharya. 1 plus 6. These impurities of the mind can be removed and the mind can be made pure through Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Once the mind has been made pure that way, the mind should be led to the Guru, to the practice of Shravana, listening to the Guru, Manana, clarity, and then Nididhyasana, which is continuously thinking about what you have understood as a central message, and that is Aham Brahmasmi. And when the mind does that, what is the mind doing? The mind is moving away from its extrovertedness and going inward. Okay? And that mind which is going inward falls into the self. That mind which goes inward falls into the self, becomes absorbed in the self, and it ends. During this process, when it is to fall, certain obstacles could be there, and those obstacles are 4. What is that? Is equal to stupor. 2. Vikshepa is equal to agitation. 3. Kashaya is equal to blocking subtle dirt of vasana inside. And last one is what? rasaswada, attachment to the happiness of that absorption. Right? Once these are overcome, the mind becomes totally absorbed in the self, and thereafter, for that person, the whole world that he sees is he himself, or Brahman itself, where he and Brahman is the same. Clear? What do you mean he and Brahman is the same? The Atman, which is of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss, alone has become this manifest world. This is the whole path. In essence. Now, have you grasped what is the whole teaching of the Upanishad? Yes? Over? Can we have valedictory? A question usually comes to a seeker's mind. Such a long path. Such a long path. Any success possible for me? I'm sure at least a few of you here have decided. Thank God there is rebirth. Yes or no? I will tell you a traditional story. A story from the Vedanta tradition. There were a few birds. Titiba birds. Titiba. Do you know what is Titiba birds? You will find usually near the ocean, seas and all. It keeps hopping. It's not a great flying bird, a small one. What they are doing there? Not required. Oh. So, small birds, titiba. Okay? And these birds near the sea, they live there. They have their eggs there, they hatch their babies there. And that's how. The female bird, the mother bird, it wanted to put some eggs. It was in a hurry. Asked the father bird, shall I put my eggs here? The father bird said, yes, but the sea, the waves, don't you worry. Everything will be safe. Go ahead. So it put the eggs there. It was relieved. Abba. The father bird looked at the mother bird, smiled. She also gave the smile of satisfaction. And the father bird, now onwards, is his job to protect. Protect from the wolves, protect from the other creatures, the vultures, the eagles, protect from all of them. But more importantly, even though he had told that put here, in his back of the mind, he was concerned about the sea. And true to his worry, during the high tide, the waves came and the ocean took away the waves. And what could the mother bird do? All she could do was cry, cry, cry. What could the father bird do? Father bird tried his best to protect, but could not. The sea is too powerful. The eggs were gone. She was crying. But then the father bird, suddenly in a avesha of anger, I shall not rest until I get the eggs back. You don't cry. She looked at him. Please don't worry, eggs are gone, doesn't matter. No, we will get it back. She looked at him. He started his work. What did he do? He went to the ocean. Put his ocean means what? Not inside, somewhere near the waves, and put his wings to the water, and the water got wet, and then it went to the shore, and then did like that. Again went back. Again got wet, came out and put it back. Again went inside, got the water, went to the shore, again went inside, non-stop for hours together. The mother bird saw, I should also help him. Immediately mother bird also joined together, and she was telling him, this way, when will the sea become empty? Shut up, we are going to get the eggs back. If you want to join me, or you go away from here. So she also joined. Two birds going into the ocean, getting themselves drenched, coming out and removing the water, getting themselves to the ocean again, and then removing the water, inside, outside. By the time it was evening, and all the birds which were flying were all coming to rest, and they all saw these two birds engaged in some kind of funny thing. Hey, what's the matter? No time to tell you. The mother bird said, I will tell you, don't disturb him. He's in a kind of mood, when he goes into this mood, you can't do anything about it, he's mad. But I will tell you what is the matter. And then she told the whole story. The other birds also thought, these are birds, our own birds, and we are also birds. We will also join together. Those birds also joined together. 250, 300 birds are then working, going into the ocean and putting else, and they're coming out and dredging whole night non-stop. Next day, other birds which were living, they also saw, they also going to some 1,000 birds, 2,000, 3,000 birds are doing this job. Imagine what is the scene. All birds going into the ocean, getting themselves drenched, coming out, removing the water, getting inside, coming out, getting inside, coming out. A frenzy of activity. And Narada was Triloka Sanchari. He was traveling by the sky. Narayana. Suddenly he looked at the earth and saw small things going into the ocean and then coming out. Again going, coming out. Sir? He removed his specs and it's very funny. People who wear specs when they want to see something clearly remove their specs and see. So Narada, what's the matter? What's the matter, all of you? Don't you know what has happened? The great injustice to the community of birds. We are so small. Our eggs are here on the shore. And this ocean, arrogant fellow, came and took away the eggs of these two small birds. We all have joined together to teach the ocean a lesson he will never forget in his life. Narada said, this way if you keep doing, when will the ocean be dry? When you can empty the ocean this way, have some sense. The father bird turned. Enemy number one, attack! All the birds joined over there and went to Narada to attack. Narada, he said, no, I don't mean any harm. I will also help you. So Narada took his kamandalu. And Narada started, because the birds will eat. Now he has told the birds. So Narada took his kamandalu, took the water out, took the kamandalu, water out. Then he thought, I have no other escape now. How long can I take my kamandalu or the water out? So Narada went to the father bird and said, excuse me. Stop. No, I have no time. Excuse me. I want to go and come. Get lost. Narada thought, this is determination. Amazing. Praiseworthy. Narayana. He went to Garuda. Do you know there's a revolution happening in earth? The birds of the world have come together to empty the ocean. And what are you, the king of birds, doing here? Don't you have any shame? Are you eating food with salt? Garuda said, what are you talking like this to me? Do you know who I am? Whomever you may be. Do you know what is happening? He explained the whole thing. The birds need help. If the king does not help his citizens, is he a king? Resign. Garuda said, I shall see what I can do. Garuda is who? Bhagavan Vishnu's Vahana. Very high contact person. He started coming. Huge wings. Naturally, Bhagavan Vishnu is so Vishnu, Sarva Vyapi. He is sitting on this Garuda Vahana, means Garuda, how much big it will be? Huge wings. When he starts there in Vishnu Loka, Vaikunta, everywhere there is a shake. The whole world was trembling. All the devatas came out. What is happening? Garuda is going, but where is Bhagavan Vishnu? Not found. Garuda is going, but Garuda never goes without Bhagavan Vishnu. Where is Garuda going? All the devatas coming out. And suddenly on top of this ocean comes this huge Garuda and the entire army of devatas to watch. Ocean got frightened. What did they do? Came out and asked in a meeting, silent personal meeting with Garuda. Garuda said, give back the eggs. That's all, for that you have come. What do you mean for that's all I have come? I have come for this purpose. Give back the eggs. Immediately. And the ocean devata came and brought the 2 eggs to the father bird. Father bird looked at him. Never do this again. Alright? Go give it to her. The mother bird went and hugged the father bird. This is a story in the Shastra. And then the Rishi says, for the person who is determined, God will come to help. You do not have to be logical in spiritual life. You have to be determined in spiritual life. That will I shall. And that is why the Upanishad says, Yame Vaisha Varunate Tena Labhya. If you want it, you will get it. Right? And therefore, when you study what is the spiritual path, what is the spiritual path? 1 plus 6 by 4, by 4 going to 3, reaching the ultimate 1, and before reaching the ultimate 1, 4 obstacles. Be the father bird. Don't think. If I start meditation now at this age, when will I? Just do it. And see what happens. God will come to help you. If you want God, God wants you more. The problem is you don't want Him. Alright? Uddhare Atmana Atman. Lift up yourself by this enthusiasm and move forward. Alright? After giving the entire teaching this way, the Upanishad Rishi looks at the student. Naiva chintyam, na chintyam, na chintyam, na chintyam, chantyam, achintyam, achintyam. Student is looking at what to do. The Guru says, this is a method for you. A method by which you can focus the mind and transcend the mind. Alright? What is that? Let us read the next verse. Swarena sandhayed yogam aswaram bhavayet param Swarenanubhavena aswarenanubhavena nabhavo bhavaishyate. In your book, bhavo va bhavaishyate. Swarena sandhayed yogam This is a method you need to take up. You need to take up to focus the mind. This is the method. Alright? The mind which is refusing to go inward. The mind which is not immediately capable to look within to the self. That mind is helped with a method. A kind of assistance is given to the mind. And that assistance is called as upasana. Please note down that word. Upasana. The word upasana means, asana means sitting. Upa means near. Helping the mind to go near and be established. Okay? Helping the mind. The mind is not immediately able to turn inward. Therefore, you give the mind a method by which naturally, without it knowing, it goes inward. And here, the method the Guru teaches us is Omkara Upasana. Okay? All of you know Omkara. Omkara. This Omkara has got three swaras. Three swaras. A, U, Makara. We can't say Ma because it is a So, Akara, Ukara, Makara. These are the three swaras. Alright. Now, using this Om, you can go beyond to the self. That is what the teacher is advising. How he is saying, watch. Swarena sandayed yogam. With the swaras, A, U, Ma, also called matras. Amatra, Umatra, and the Makara, matras. Swara, he is using the word swara. With the three swaras, you practice your meditation. Swarena anusandayed yogam. Anusandayed yogam. What is Anusandanam kuryat? Perform your meditation. Alright. How do you do that? When we chant Om, we are hearing the sound, is it not? But if you know Om has got three swaras, then what you do, when the starting swara is there, Om, when starting is A, is it not? A plus U becomes O. A plus U becomes O. Therefore, when you say O, itself A is there. So what is happening? A is merging into U and becoming O, and O is ending in and after what is there? Silence is there. Right? So what you do, when you chant Om, in the beginning portion of the Om, when A is there hidden, at that portion, what you think is that this is the entire gross world. This entire gross world. So, when you say Om, what should come into your mind? The entire physical world. Okay? The gross world. What do you call gross world in Sanskrit? Stula. Also learn the Sanskrit, it will be useful for you in your studies, further studies. Stula. And what is world? Jagat or Prapancha. These words are there also in our own regional languages also. Stula Prapancha. Alright? And see, just as how A merges into U. Isn't it? A merges into U, na? And becomes O. A merges into U. A goes into U goes into M. The same way, what you do, when you say A, you become aware of the physical world, the body, and the physical world. And when you go to U, what you do? You consider the physical world is going into the subtle world of thoughts. Now I am seeing you, physical world. I close you. Now what has happened to the physical world? The physical world has gone into the mental world. Is it not? The same way, imagine that the entire physical world has dissolved into the subtle world. And when you go to the Im aspect, the Makara aspect, then you consider that the subtle world has dissolved into the causal world. Gross world, you know, the physical world. Subtle world, you know, thoughts. What is a causal world? What is a causal world? That causal world is a Vasana Prapancha. What is also called as the Karana Prapancha. Like how you have Stula Sharira, physical body, Sukshma Sharira, the mental body, Karana Sharira. Like that, the world also you imagine, first the gross world you put it in the subtle world, and the subtle world you put in the causal world. Imagine. This is Upasana. Okay? And then when you come to Ma, only causal world is there. And when you stop that, what is there? Silence is there. That silence, you consider it as the self. Okay? So, gross world, take it as A. Subtle world, mental world, take it as U. Vasana world, take it as Ma. And silence, take it as Atman. Alright? I'll explain. Kindly note your questions down. In the middle of the class, please note it down. So, when you chant that itself, you consider the movement happening. The gross world is moving to the subtle world world is going to the causal world, and the causal world is merging into the Atman. You don't have to chant Ah, not required. It's in your understanding that A plus O is equal to O. Okay? You're understanding this? Just asking the mind to quieten down may be tough. But you take the support of Om, the Alambana of Om, and then start moving from the external world to the mental world to the causal world, and then be in utter silence. Okay? This you have to see for yourself how to do. So, Swarena Sandayed Yogam. Using the A, U and Ma swaras, you practice your meditation. And then what happens? Aswaram bhavayet param. How? Aswarena anubhavena. See the next. Do you see Aswarena anubhavena? Swarena sandayed yogam. Next, Aswaram bhavayet param. Aswaram bhavayet param. Come to realize the Aswara. What is Aswara? The silence. There is no Swara there. A, U and Ma are swaras. After that there is no swara, there is only silence. You come to experience that silence as Atman. How? Aswarena Anubhavena. By abiding in that silence. Now what is happening I will tell you. First, a person who is doing this Omkara Upasana, the physical world he forgets. Then he comes to the mental world. The mental world also he forgets. Then there is a causal world of vasanas. And this causal world of vasanas also, he moves beyond that and comes to a pure silence. In that silence which is there in Ma, there is a kind of silence. Yes, there is a kind of silence, but that is not a complete silence. It's a kind of silence, but he moves beyond that and he comes to perfect silence. And then what happens is that as he abides in that perfect silence, initially I am aware of the silence is there. But because the silence is Atman, what he does is that he merges that silence inside the consciousness. You are aware of the silence. Okay? Gross world, A. Then go to the subtle world, Ma. Then go to the subtle world, U. And then go to the causal world, Ma. Then become utterly silent. Utterly silent, full silence. And then what happens? I am aware of the silence. So you are there, silence is there. Then what do you tell yourself? You say, this silence is not other than me, this silence is me. Then what are you doing to that silence? You are allowing the silence to dissolve in yourself. How do you make the silence dissolve in yourself? By shifting your attention from the silence to the pure consciousness. Shifting of attention. You are aware of the silence. Then what happens? That silence is apart from you. Now you tell yourself, this silence is Atman. Then what will happen to the silence? You turn to the Atman. Then what will happen? The silence is dissolved into you. Okay? And once that happens, Bhavaha va abhavaha ishyate. Bhavaha, the entire bhava, the existing world, which is the gross world, the mental world, and the causal world, all of them have ended. Bhavaha, this entire world which you see, the world of objects, alright, world of objects, world of thoughts, causal world, all of them is what has happened? They are abhavaha. They are absent. Do you get it? This upasana? So, by the time you finish your Om, be totally silent. You have transcended the physical world, all the thoughts have also transcended, and the particular kind of silence, which is a causal silence, which is a kind of silence but not perfect silence. It's not totally silence. It's not like no. Transcend that also. Now what is there? Total silence is there. And now From that silence, you shift your attention to consciousness, which is aware of the silence. Silence also disappears. What is left there? All the bhava has become abhava, and only consciousness is. All the bhava has become abhava. All that you perceive is no more there. Only consciousness is. You understand? This you should try. A little bit of physical world you are feeling when you are chanting, oh, but as we go inside, even that physical world is forgotten. As we go still inside, that mental world also is forgotten. No thoughts are there. A kind of silence is there. And then you go beyond that also and come to perfect silence. This is a help to quieten the mind. And what do you do with the silence? You stay in that silence. Aswarena anubhavena. Don't break that silence. You stay in the silence. Anubhavena. Continuously stay in the silence. And then, when you are firm in that silence, turn with it. The silence goes away. So easy. Yeah, try. Try like whom? The father bird. The father bird. Yes. See, they are giving us help. But if you say, oh, I can't do this, Swamiji, should I chant Om loudly? If you want, you can chant. Mentally also you can chant. First you may chant loudly, and then slowly you start the mental chant. And then what will happen? The entire perceived world of objects, the entire perceived thoughts, the causal world, the vasana, which you don't see, of course. All those things. Let us read the verse again. Swarena sandhayed yogam aswaram bhavayet param aswarenanubhavena bhavayishyate. And that consciousness into which you have merged everything, what is that consciousness? That is, next 2 verses, but 1 verse we will read first. Tadeva nishkalam brahma nirvikalpam niranjanam tad brahmahamiti jnatva brahma sampadhyate dhruvam. Tadeva nishkalam brahma kalpam niranjanam tad brahmahamiti jnatva brahma sampadhyate dhruvam. Tadeva. Tadeva, that verily. Which verily? Which verily? Which verily? That silence? No, that consciousness, yourself, in which you merge that silence. Right? In this whole process, what is the toughest thing? Forgetting the physical world when you go from to, you will forget the physical world. Initially, when you start, you are aware of the body, is it not? That is the awareness of the physical world. When you start, first you start with the physical body only. And when you little bit it goes. From it goes to, not that from you don't. But when you say Om itself, from you are going to when it's there, the mental world is there. That mental world also you will forget and come to little silence. And that also you can put an end to it and come to the very quiet silence. That also. But to put that silence, turning the attention to the inner consciousness, that what you call paradigm shift. That shift. You are watching that silence. And you cannot move from the silence to the consciousness in a logical way. You can go with your intellect. Intellect is there to help. But from the silence, merging the silence in the consciousness, you know how it happens? When you abide in that silence, even the silence becomes too thin. What did you say, Swami? Silence becomes thin. Silence becomes silence more thin. Deeper silence. And then what happens? The consciousness is so vivid. When the object becomes very, very minimally existent, subject becomes very, very glowing. And then that shift happens. And then consciousness alone is. That is why he had said, Aswarena Anubhavena Aswaram Param Pashyet. Earlier. Aswaram Param Bhavaye. By abiding in that Aswara means what? By abiding in that still silence. Then what happens? When you keep abiding in that, the silence also becomes less, not that it becomes noisy, the silence becomes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and finally you become more and more evident. The consciousness becomes more and more evident. And then the silence is lost. Not into noise. The silence is lost into the consciousness. That consciousness, which you have attained by this upasana, that consciousness, what is that? That is that Supreme Brahman, you yourself. And that is Nishkalam. Nishkalam, without any parts. Why is it without any parts? Because it is not an apple. What do you mean it is not an apple? It is not finite. That which is finite you can make into parts. You take an apple, you can cut into parts. Alright? But this is not finite. Something is finite if it is limited by space. But here space is not there. This is finite, is it not? Why is this finite? It is within space. In space it is. But that wherein space is not there, it cannot be finite. And therefore, Nishkalam. Space is there in the physical world, correct? Mental world also some space is there. You can think of space. One thought is there, then next thought is coming, there's a space. When you go to the causal world, there space becomes null. And when you go into that consciousness itself, the space is totally absent. It is no more in the realm of matter. It is not a finite object. And therefore, it is Nishkalam. Partless. Nishkalam, partless. Without parts. Why is it Nishkalam? Next word, Nirvikalpam. Nirvikalpam, beyond thoughts. When thoughts comes, space comes. When thoughts come, space comes. When thoughts are not there, no space is there. In deep sleep, do you have the experience of space? No. Why in deep sleep you do not have the experience of space? Because no thoughts. And since you have gone beyond all thoughts, means what? You have merged everything into that pure consciousness. Nirvikalpam. And therefore, Niranjanam. Free of all dirt. What is dirt? This cloth is dirty. If other than this cloth, there is something else. If there is only one and one alone, there is nothing other than that which can be considered to be a dirt. It is one and one alone. That Brahman, that Brahma, Aham iti jnatva, knowing that Brahman to be oneself, you become Brahman. Knowing that Atman to be Brahman, you become Brahman, because the Atman is Brahman. The ultimate reality that you seek is not something apart from you, that is you yourself. It is up to you to know it. It's up to you to see for yourself. You are pure existence. You are pure consciousness. You are pure bliss. When you merge the physical, the mental, and the causal world in yourself. Alright? Yes, alright, sir. Logical. It's logical. So, thus merging everything into that consciousness is Nishkalam, Nirvikalpam, Niranjanam. And knowing that to be, knowing that means what? That is you yourself, is it not? You are not merging everything into some consciousness somewhere. You merge everything into yourself. This consciousness is Brahman. Knowing this, you attain it. Explaining further, in the same way what that consciousness in which everything is merged, the next verse. Nirvikalpamanantam cha hetu drishtanta varjitam aprameyamanadim cha yajñātvā muchyate buddhah. Nirvikalpamanantam cha hetu drishtanta varjitam aprameyamanadim cha yajñātvā muchyate buddhah. Nirvikalpam. This word had come in the earlier verse, is it not? Nirvikalpam, free of all vikalpas, free of all thoughts, beyond all thoughts, transcending all thoughts. This is pure consciousness. Not just transcending. It is in this consciousness that you have dissolved all thoughts, and therefore this consciousness is free of all thoughts. Nirvikalpam. Anantam. Anantam. Anta means having a boundary. Anantam. No boundary. No anta. Why no anta? Because it is not a finite thing. It is not a finite thing means what? It is not something in space. Space itself has been merged into it. And this consciousness, because everything has been merged into it, nothing is there other than that. It is Anantam. And next comes Hetu Drishtanta Varjitam. Hetu Drishtanta Varjitam. What is this Hetu Drishtanta Varjitam? You have to little bit. Hetu means cause. Drishtanta, example. But it is more deeper than that. Ready for little? Yeah, little. Hetu Drishtanta Varjitam. Some little bit of enquiry shall we do? Little bit of Indian Nyaya I will have to teach you. Indian logic. Because it refers to that. In Indian logic, how is inference derived? Inference. The example we give is that the mountain, shall I say in Sanskrit, will you note it down? Yeah. Write down this sentence. Parvato, Parvataha. Okay? Parvataha. Vahniman. Parvataha, mountain. Okay? Vahniman has fire. The mountain has fire. Vahniman. Vahniman. Parvato Vahniman. Why? Dhumat. Please note down, huh? Very interesting. Dhumat. So what is the sentence? Parvataha Vahniman Dhumat. Dhumat means smoke. So what is the sentence now? Parvataha Vahniman Dhumat. Next, little more you have to write. Yatha, just as. Yatha, Mahanasaha. Mahanasaha. Mahanasa means the kitchen. So I will just say the whole statement, or let us say it together. Parvataha Vahniman Dhumat Yatha Mahanasaha. Now all of you say it together. Dhumat Yatha Mahanasaha. Shall I translate the sentence? Mahanasaha. M-A-H-A-N-A-S-A-H. Mahanasaha. Shall I translate? The mountain, Parvataha, mountain, Vahniman has fire. You are not seeing the fire because the mountain is far away. Seeing the mountain far away, you are inferring that there is fire. Okay? What is the hetu? Hetu? What is the cause? Because of which you are able to infer this? Because of smoke. Dhumat, because of smoke. The mountain has fire because I see smoke. Okay? But how do you know that because there is smoke, there is fire? Just as in the kitchen. That is the example. Because of such examples, you know. What is the example? In kitchen, whenever there is smoke, you know that there is fire. Those days kitchen, okay? Where they used to have wood for cooking, no? Because of such example, what is the Sanskrit term for example in Sanskrit? What in Drishtanta? Drishtanta example. So now again come back to the sentence. The mountain has fire. Hetu, because of smoke. How do you know that is a valid hetu? Because such examples are there. You have experienced. You have experienced that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. And because of that experience, like what you have in the kitchen, now you are seeing the smoke there. And because you are seeing the smoke there, you are saying that there is fire. Okay? In other words, to have inferential knowledge of something, to infer something, you need a hetu, you need a cause, you need a smoke. Without that hetu, you can't infer. Without that external smoke, you cannot infer the fire. And to come to this understanding that smoke means fire, you must have had earlier experiences. Alright, this is clear, this much is clear. Now we move next step. Can Brahman be known through inference? Can Brahman be known by inference? We can know that fire is there because smoke is there. Like that, does Brahman give some smoke anywhere? You can say easily no, but think carefully. You see, people say, because the world is there, Brahman is there. Have you heard of this logic? Because the world is there, Brahman is there. Is it true inference? Yes, Swamiji. World is there means a creator should be there. But is there any proof that the world has come from Brahman? Because world is there, a creator should be there is true. Because smoke is there, fire is there is true. Why? Because you have seen in the kitchen that fire gives smoke. That smoke is connected to fire. Because smoke is connected to fire, when you see smoke there, you are able to infer fire. But have you ever seen the world coming out of Brahman? Like how smoke comes out of fire. If you had seen a few times smoke coming out of fire, and therefore when you see the smoke there and then you think that there is fire, it is valid inference. But here you have never seen the world coming out of Brahman, and therefore seeing the world now, if you say the world has come from Brahman, is it logical? Now you think. No need to answer now. Think. It is a little interesting topic. Because world is there must be a creator. That is correct. A pot is there, a potter should be there. But here potter you are seeing making a pot. But world is there, because world is there, that the world has come from Brahman. From Brahman, how do you know? The world has come from consciousness, how do you know? It's a very important question. Logical question. A pot is there, potter should be there. Yes. World is there, a creator should be there. Yes, no problem. But world has come from this consciousness, how do you know? Logically, inferentially, how do you know? Because there is drishtanta, you have seen many examples wherein the smoke is connected to the fire. Wherever smoke is there, fire is there. You have seen many times. Because of that, you see the distant smoke and you say there is fire. But here, when have you seen the world coming from Brahman? That seeing the world now, you know that it has come from Brahman. And therefore, Brahman cannot be known by inference. Why? There is no previous example that you have seen. Swamiji, you are an atheist or theist? I am explaining what the rishis have said. You're able to follow the logic? You're able to follow? World is there, a creator must be there. But how do you know the world has come from this consciousness? Logical question, no? And that is why Shastra is the Pramana. You understand? And hence the next word, Aprameyam. Aprameyam cannot be known by any means of knowledge other than Shastra. In Brahma Sutra, there is one whole sutra devoted to this. Shastra Yonitva. One sutra is there. This is a little subtle point, but important point. And therefore, the Upanishads alone can tell you about your consciousness. Yes, Upanishads alone can tell, and when you see how the Upanishads have told, and when you come to understand, you will see this is true. When you dissolve the gross world, the subtle world, and the causal world into your consciousness, and you find out for yourself nothing is there except consciousness, you have the actual experience that the world comes from consciousness. The Shastra tells you, but you have to see in your own experience. The Shastra, you cannot come to it by your logical reasoning. The Shastra tells you, but the Shastra is telling you and not telling you just have faith in me. No, the Shastra is telling you and telling you, you find out this to be true by your own personal experience. Aprameyam. Hetu drishtanta varjitam. Because there is no drishtanta, because there is no drishtanta, no previous experiences, therefore you cannot consider like smoke, therefore fire, like that you cannot consider the world, and therefore I infer Brahman. As the infer Brahman, infer the consciousness as a cause of the world. You can't do that. Then how can you do it? The Shastra tells you, walk that path and find out if it is true. And it is true. Many sages have seen that to be true, and you can also see it to be true. Okay? Yad Jnatva, knowing which, Aprameyam. Okay? Next word, Anadim. Anadim, no beginning. No beginning. It is not something which is a created object. It's not an object, a material object which can have a source or a cause. It has no cause. It is pure consciousness which is ever there. Yad Jnatva, after knowing which, Muchyate Buddha. One becomes free. One becomes free means what? You remember? Initial problem of the mind. Taking the body to be the self and the world to be real, that ends. Why? Because now you are not the body, you are pure consciousness. And why is not the world real? The world is only a manifestation of consciousness. Consciousness alone is true. The world is only an appearance on me, the pure consciousness. In this way, one gets liberated and one becomes Buddha, wise. Swamiji, is Amrita Bindu? Yes, it is Bindu, but contains a whole saga. Okay, a very deep Upanishad. निर्विकल्पमनन्तं च हेतुदृष्टान्तवर्जितम् अप्रमेयमनादिं च यज्ञात्वा मुच्यते बुधः. All right, that's okay for now. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ॐ.